If you are planning on moving to San Diego and buying a home here and you want to make the transition as smooth as possible, this is the video for you. We're going to dive into 5 common mistakes we see people make when moving out here to San Diego. And we're also going to share with you how to avoid those. So let's get into it right now.
First up, we see this a lot, and it's focusing on too large of an area. So a lot of people will get on a call with somebody, they'll say, I want to move to San Diego. San Diego is huge. It is a huge city. It is a huge county. So it is really important to find your spot, your niche, your part of this county or part of the city that you want to focus on. So how do you find the right area? This is obviously one of the most important things, and you probably started by just Googling moving to San Diego, and that's probably how you found us, but a lot of other information pops up. So one resource that we've been a part of, started by Homes.com, they reached out to agents to kind of get an idea of areas. So you'll even find clips from us or little snippets here and there from Chris and I, where they interviewed agents to kind of get an idea of what's Vista like or what's San Marcos like. And so they kind of dove in there. But it's not perfect. Obviously, none of these websites are going to be perfect. We've found that the school district or the schools are not perfect when you're looking in areas on Homes.com. There's other resources like Neighborhood Scout, which is a good one if you want stats for crime and growth and some of those other things. So using a lot of resources, using multiple resources really helps in figuring out where you want to be in San Diego.
Another way to find the right area is diving into more videos just like this. We have a whole library built out and you can see what areas we cover a lot, dive into all these areas, but there's a few different main types of videos that we really like that give you really good insight. Yeah, you're gonna get these list style videos where it's like top 5 neighborhoods here, pros and cons of this, pros and cons of that, all good stuff, all good information. But as you are exploring areas and you're diving into each one and you really want a good lay of the land, I think 2 of our styles that we do, if you want to dive in, map style videos where we're bringing up Google Maps, we are diving in, we're drawing on the maps, we're going to street level, we're really showing you inside and out of all these neighborhoods, and we're going to revamp all of those into the new year, so stay tuned for all of that. We recently just did one of all of San Diego, break it all down, show you where most people are living, the different areas of San Diego, just to kind of give you a detailed explanation of all of San Diego. So that's popping up right now if you want to go check that out. The other style is vlog style videos. Boots on the ground is what we call them, where we're out there, we're checking out parks, we're checking out restaurants, we're going to where the main shopping centers are, we're going to a few of the main neighborhoods, give you some drone footage of these neighborhoods as you're flying over, because you could see kind of the style of homes, the size of yards, where is it close by? How's the terrain around? Which is kind of cool here in San Diego. You have a lot of different styles. I was out in Florida for Thanksgiving. It's like flat everywhere. Yeah, there's a lot more greenery, a lot more, water everywhere. So everything is just more vibrant, but it was flat. I kind of felt like I was in a cage. You can never see farther than like the, few blocks in front of you. There was no hills. The biggest hill we were on was like going across a bridge. And I was like, hey, everybody look at the view up there. Here in San Diego, you get all kinds of different terrain. One other super good resource that I really like to use is Google Maps. It gives you a good lay of the land. You can explore at your own pace. Find a house on Zillow. As you're looking around, we know you guys are checking out houses right now, even if you're a year out, 2 years out, it's just, you're checking out places. So find a house that you like in an area that you think you might like and start exploring. Like, just check out satellite views, see how close it is to other houses. Is it near like a main road? Can you see any power lines in the back? All these little things you could dive into on Google Maps. Go to Street View, do a quick little turnaround to see how it looks there, but then see how far it is for your commute. See how far it is to get to the beach. See how far it is to the airport. See how far it is just to get to like Trader Joe's.
One of the most important things for kind of narrowing your area is price point. So what are you qualified for? Or, if you're doing the online calculators, it might be spitting out what numbers you can afford, or if you're talking to a lender, same thing. But we're going to get into what's even more important than what you qualify for in a little bit.
Now this next point here, it kind of goes against everything we just said in mistake number 1. But the second mistake is focusing in on too small of an area. Some people, as they are exploring, as they're searching around, we've had clients who did end up moving out here. They were thinking, okay, we want to be in this area of Carlsbad. And we're searching around, we visited, which is always a good step. Come out, visit, explore, get some local area guides, figure out what areas are going to work for you. Highly recommended. But as you're exploring, maybe don't get too fixated on one specific neighborhood. Now, if you are, great. We have strategies where we can help. So get back to these clients. They were looking at one area. They narrowed it down. They figured out, okay, I want this specific area. It's walkable. It's got a great community. Location's great. They like the houses, but the entire community is only about 600 houses. So right here with the number of homes on the market, with the inventory that we do see here in San Diego, and this is typical for most times, even though we're at a lower inventory environment right now, there's only 2, 3, 4, maybe at max 5, 6 houses in that neighborhood on the market. And from those, which ones do they actually like? They narrowed it down to specific floor plans they don't like. There's a few different styles of homes in this neighborhood, so it cut that number down even in half. They ended up searching, finding another area of Carlsbad, but since they did initially dive into that one specific area, one of the strategies that we did have, we reached out to other agents doing a lot of business in the area. We have those conversations. We were able to get them a few of those private showings, a few off-market listings that didn't end up obviously working out. But if you do narrow it down, you're like, that's it. I explored. I want to be there. We do have ways to help you out.
One other point too is if you are looking in a very specific area, maybe it's just one neighborhood, maybe it's just a couple of streets, and it's at the top of your price point, it's really tough when you're competing against other folks that are looking on that similar focus. And we have had clients that have just kind of got priced out over a couple of months just because they started right at the top of their price point. The third mistake we see a lot is folks not getting educated on buying a home, on the process of buying a home here in San Diego. Specifically San Diego, that's an important part of it because you may be coming from somewhere else where the process is completely different. East Coast, New York, there's a lot of spots where the home buying process has extra people in it, has an attorney, has just a lot of other moving parts that we have just different moving parts here in San Diego. So you can just wing it, but that adds a lot of stress, that adds a lot of anxiety of not knowing what's happening next, not knowing what you're supposed to do in certain situations. So we educate our clients, sit down and kind of go through the whole process so you do know what's happening at all times. For instance, termite inspections are an important thing here in San Diego. There are termites everywhere. There's termites in almost every inspection we do. And this can be shocking for somebody that's coming from a spot that doesn't have them. It's not the end of the world. And that's part of just kind of educating, learning the process. Those things that seem scary because you don't know what they aren't as scary when we've already had the conversation about it.
And one of the first things, a lot of the people we talk to during that initial conversation, even before we get into the whole process, it's one of the first steps is we'll have the conversation, get their wants, needs, what they're looking for, all that kind of stuff, help dial them into a few different neighborhoods. After that call, we send them our preferred lender. And having that conversation, whether it be our preferred lender, your lender, anybody that you trust and maybe you've worked with them in the past, that's one of the first conversations that we always recommend having because it's going to take out it's going to do that process of elimination for you, take out a lot of areas that might not work for you just because they are above the price point you are comfortable with. So as you're going through, have that conversation. You're going to come up with your monthly payment. You're going to potentially throw in like, okay, is there going to be a HOA? What are taxes going to be? Throw that all into one and come up with a number, and then you could work backwards from there.
And then once you get that number for what you qualify for, that might not be what you want to pay. So the most important thing is what you're comfortable as your monthly mortgage, tax, insurance, all that stuff, and go from there because you might qualify for 1.2, which it might be a payment that you just don't want to have every month, and maybe you want to stick around that $1 million mark. So finding that spot you're comfortable is the most important part.
Yeah, I remember when we moved into our house right here in Encinitas, my wife and I, we got qualified for, we were going through the lender, and the number that they threw, I was like, wait, what? Ran the numbers back. How is that going to be per month? We ended up buying like half or even less of what we were qualified for because just that was the comfort level. Going through that is a huge step in the process to get the ball rolling.
Some of these other things that you want to get educated on is how's the market? What's happening in the San Diego real estate market? What's happening in that local area that you've narrowed down that you want to look? How to write a winning offer. That's a big thing, especially in markets that are a little more competitive. What inspections should I get? Is it just the home inspection? We mentioned termite just a couple minutes ago. There's other things too that are really important. And then also closing. How does closing work here in San Diego? Do I have to be there? Are there things I have to sign? So like if you're traveling, it's still possible to close while you're traveling, but you need to be in a spot where you can sign loan docs. So you got to be not in the middle of the savannah or something like that. You need to be somewhere where a notary can get to you. And we've had clients sign their loan docs on vacation or sign their loan docs while on a business trip in different locations. So there are ways to do this, but there's a lot of things that you just have to get up front. So when people do reach out, the first thing we do is educate them. Get on a Zoom call, teach you everything you need to know so you don't make that mistake.
Another huge mistake that people make when moving out here is not planning for the hidden costs of home purchase out here in San Diego. Yeah, you're going through your lender, you're looking at all those numbers, you're going to see all that stuff pretty darn clear. But these aren't necessarily, maybe it's not something that you can't afford, it's not anything like that. Sometimes it's just annoying. You're like getting this bill in the mail, you're like, what is this? One of the biggest things that I didn't know, because I wasn't in real estate when I purchased my house over a decade ago, was a supplemental tax bill. It's something that you will potentially have to pay if the tax that you paid during escrow from the previous owner didn't cover what the new taxes will be when you purchase the home. There's going to be a difference usually because prices or homes out here get reassessed when you sell the home. So if the person you're buying it from bought it 20 years ago and their assessed value was $400,000, you're buying the house now, the assessed value is $1.4 million, you're gonna get assessed on that difference, but during escrow, you're only paying on that $400,000, whatever it is, plus how has it gone up over time, but that's a different story. So just little things like that, supplemental tax bill, make sure you know what that is and plan ahead for that. It's only gonna happen during that first year. After that, you're going to get to on the normal schedule. That can all be figured out during the buying process as well. We'll get you all that information, but it is something to be aware of.
Next up is agent fees. This has changed this year, so it's just something to get educated on, and that is sellers used to pay the buyer's agent fee on every deal. Now we have to make an agreement with you, our clients, to a compensation. We're still seeing the seller pay for that, but it could be that especially in like a competitive market, that the seller doesn't want to pay agent fees and the buyer might have to. But we're never going to get in the way of you buying a house, so we'll talk through all that stuff too.
Some other hidden costs that if you're looking at homes, you're probably like, okay, I'm going to remodel this, I'm going to do this. But actually knowing that amount could be way off than what you're thinking. It's always a good idea, whether we're in escrow or during our inspection timeline, and say you want to get something checked out, you want to get some bids for something, new flooring, new paint. We have all those people that we can hook you up with, new countertops, new kitchen, whatever. And then you're getting into bigger jobs. But getting that estimate up front so that you just kind of know what's happening. And also, if you get all that squared away, you can start picking out what you want and get that job going right away before you move in. Because moving in, getting all this done, is kind of not the best idea. Better to get all that done before you move in, especially if you have a little bit of time between when you need to get in the house and when you are moving from where you're coming from. And since you are relocating, another big thing to think about is moving expenses. Are you moving cars out here? How much stuff are you moving? Hopefully you got rid of a lot of stuff, because the more stuff you're moving out, obviously who knows if it'll fit in the house, if it'll go here, are you gonna have to put it in storage? Could be a lot. Like we had clients move a few years ago from the East Coast. They got rid of everything except like one small pod. Put everything in there. They're like, good, we'll get everything else when we need to get out there. I mean, they had their cars too, but I think that is probably one of the most ideal ways. Get rid of all your junk right now. Get some more stuff out here. We have all those stores out here too, by the way. We got furniture stores. We got Furniture Row over in San Marcos. We got Jerome's out here. So we got a lot of that stuff. You could get all that while you're out here. Another big thing that we've seen is insurance. Now you're gonna figure this out during the process when you are purchasing a home. It's getting a little bit harder, but also a little bit more expensive than in years past. A lot of the big companies have moved out. Allstate, State Farm, they're out of California right now. They may come back, but if they did come back, premiums are probably gonna be much higher. So there's limited people. We usually recommend insurance brokers where they can compare a lot of different policies for you and see which one, not only the cheapest, but one that's gonna be the best for your situation. So if you're in certain areas with high fire zones, like right now, can't really see it. It's getting a little windy. Yesterday, it was crazy windy. During those Santa Ana times, that's when we have high fire dangers out here. But in some of those high fire zones is where you're going to pay higher tax premiums, or higher insurance premiums rather, right here in San Diego.
The fifth mistake we see people make is timing. We hear timing the market a lot. It's really impossible to time the market. You don't know what interest rates are going to do. You don't know if prices are going to go down. Probably not. You don't know if prices are going to plateau in June. Like some of these things, we just don't have a crystal ball. And also how long it's going to take to buy a house. So if you're coming out here and you're going to rent for 2 months and find a house, 2 months might be enough time depending on what you're looking, but you might have to be a little bit more flexible on what you're looking at to be able to find that house quick enough.
And there are some times that are better to buy a home. Even though you can't time it, there are some times where you're going to find more homes on the market right here in San Diego as we go into the spring market. Right now we're in December, towards the end of the year. So you're not going to find a ton of homes on the market. Now, there are homes popping up, there's homes pending, there's homes going for sale, there's homes selling every single day. But the amount of homes, typically you're going to see a bounce up in that kind of in that springtime where you do have a lot more inventory coming on the market. So there is certain things you can time, but figuring out where we are on the market, what are interest rates, that's probably not something. And if you guys want to avoid the first few mistakes in here, which is figuring out which area you do want to live, go check out the video that's popping up right now where we dive into the map, give you times to the airports, to the beaches, break down all the areas, North County, South County, East County, San Diego, all of it. So dive into the main transportation routes and all that kind of stuff. So it'll give you some really good insight into right here in San Diego.